It just being Easter weekend, you know what that means? Another Bathurst enduro. So what has now become a yearly tradition has been and gone. The People's Bathurst, the Bathurst 6 Hour. It is called the People's Bathurst because it is the most accessible, and that has been proven by what the car count was for the race. 80 entries were interested, which meant we had reserve entries for this race because it managed to get to the 72 capacity grid onto race day. So the 9th edition is, and they were split up into classes. The X class was the most extreme cars, and the E class were the most little cars. How did the race end up going? Well, I will review the race as I was watching it. If you like this video and you want to see more race reviews and other stuff from moi, give a like and a subscribe. The support would be very much appreciated. And follow me on TikTok if you want daily content, well, every day. Like I said, it had a 72 car grid. Unfortunately, that was whittled down by a couple because there were a few late withdrawals on Sunday morning, and in fact a few reserves had to get wheeled out. There was an Audi TT and a Ford Mustang GT that was put onto the entries list because of a few practice crashes. So the race got underway, and it was the BMWs that would lead the field from all the A2 cars basically. But it wouldn't take long for the first of what would be many safety cars to come out on track. I mean, when you've got 71 or so cars running around, you're gonna get the odd incident or two. So after they got the B2 class Commodore out of the gravel trap, they managed to get some green flag running. So much so that the number 118 BMW of Cameron Crick behind the wheel went from 66th to 5th before the next safety car came out after 10 laps. That is honestly the most impressive stint of Bathurst I've ever seen. I don't care about the difference between cars. You're weaving through 60 plus cars and can do it like that. There wasn't a mark on the car either. The safety car did come out because the C-Class number 4 Astra would pull off on the outside of Forest Elbow, and it would cause all the leaders to come in for pit stops, so much so that it was a bit jumbled after the restart, and a few A2 class cars were at the head of the field. Unfortunately for one of those A2 class cars that were at the front, which was the number 101 Camaro, a very brand new car to production car racing, it ran out of fuel on the way down to Forest, or way down to the chase. So that would bring out the third safety car and put that car out of contention for the class win, which, as we'd get to at the end of the race, it would lead to more than just a class win. As all these safety cars came out, there was a trend that I noticed. The number 1 X-Class BMW kept coming into the pits. Even if there was like 3 laps between safety cars, he would come into the pits, do a pit stop and then go back out. Why? For one very specific reason. Because those X-Class cars had to do 6 mandatory pit stops. The A-Class and B1 class cars had to do 4, and every other class had to do 3. That's how I did make a video early on in the week that could anything topple the BMWs? This would be the only way the BMWs were toppled, because the Mustangs, which have become quite competitive in the last couple of years, only had to do 4 pit stops. And we had for a while safety cars breeding safety cars. There was one incident at the cutting where Aston Davis's car, the number 128, Davis is a follower of mine on TikTok, he came into blows with the B1 class 105 car, and that would bring out a safety car. Both cars would continue, by the way. And then as soon as it came out, there was a car stuck in the gravel, and that would cause another safety car right at the Hell's Corner. But after that, there was a good, consistent bit of green flag running. The BMWs would get their pit stops done, so it would be basically, as we got to the end, it would be first a 4-way dogfight, and then a 3-way dogfight, because the 92 car, they had a few issues of their own mechanically. So it would be down to the 1, the 23, and the 118. The thing about the 23 is there was a bit of drama with that, because early on in the race, it got a drive-through penalty. It served that drive-through penalty, and then way later in the race, with like an hour and a half to go, they rescinded the penalty. So I don't know how you can rescind a drive-through penalty after it's happened. But Barrick Linton, the car owner, was saying, can everyone else just go through the pit stop and do a drive-through penalty? Unfortunately for those guys, that did not happen. And there was multiple strategies with 2 hours to go. You had the three guns in the top three cars. You had Cameron Crick, Will Davison, and Jaden Ojeda. Will Davison in the 23 car was more on a fuel-saving run. Cameron Crick was flat out blasting it down the straights, in fact even being 1 or 2 seconds faster than the Ojeda car, who was just going on his merry pace and doing it consistently. This is how they won last year. They got all their pit stops done early, so the 90-second requirement for when you did do your pit stop was gone. They didn't have to do that. Although with 45 minutes to go in the race, there was another safety car, and that gave the car 118 a massive leg up, coming up right behind him when he had to still conserve fuel. It did help the 23 a bit, but then with 30 minutes to go before the restart even happened, a problem that came throughout the day reared its ugly head with this one specific car, the 23 BMW, but it has been happening with all the cars throughout the day. For the Bathurst 6 Hour this year, they were on a brand new tyre. The Hankook was providing the tyres for all the cars, and they did not know how to properly utilise it. So there were tyre failures all over the race, especially with those big X-Class cars, and even with a few of the A2 class cars. There was an instance where the 18 car had a failure right at Hell's Corner, so they had to go around the whole lap. That sort of ruined their race. But underneath the safety car, Will Davison, who was leading, suffered a tyre issue and had to come into the pits and solve that, so that put them out of the race. They would get going, but with probably 8 minutes to go, the number 9 Ford Mustang with Tyler Macklin behind the wheel, who was running quite well in his class, by the way, he was doing the opposite of what the number 1 car was doing when it comes to strategy. I mean, I think with like 40 minutes to go, he still had one compulsory stop to do, but that's beside the point. He ended up in the gravel. He had a few power steering issues throughout the race, and that would bring out a 1 lap dash. For whatever bloody reason, they managed to move all the lap traffic out of the way just before the restart, so it was a dogfight between car 118 and car 1, and they went at it. The speed was up to 11, and it would end up being Cameron Crick from 66th on the grid with his longtime co-driver Dean Campbell, who would end up winning this year's Bathurst 6 Hour, even beating the lap record on the last lap, Peter Brock style. 66th on the grid is the lowest a winner has won any endurance race at Bathurst from, even lower than the last record, which was I think 62nd, when Cameron Hill and Tom Sargent won this race. Ojeda and Simon Hodges in the number 1 car could not get the three-peat that they were hunting for. A very, very rare thing at Bathurst. Never been done in the 6 Hour, only been done once in the 12 Hour, and only been done 3 times by 4 drivers. 5 drivers actually. 3 times by 5 drivers in the 1000, so it was a very rare thing they were hunting, and they couldn't get it, and Medeki couldn't get his second in a row. Third overall was in fact a class car, the first class car being the A2 number 30 Mustang, and that was driven by Todd Hazelwood, Glenn Seaton and Jason Gomersall, who I picked to be the favourite of that class. The other class winners were the A1 class with Gillis, Webster and Laws in their BMW M2, not competition version, that's why it was an A2, or A1 sorry. The B2 BMW was the Howard Gosling Wolf, this one being an M3 BMW. That was after the number 69 Commodore fell out with 30 minutes or so to go. D class was the Demo Week and NASA combo in their Toyota 86. Again, the win being after the long-time leader, which was the number 500 car. They had engine issues with a couple of hours left to go. The B1 class, which was quite a lowly class, was the 999 combo, the all-female combo of Prince, Bacchini and Ambrose. That's Tabitha Ambrose. Breaking a sort of like a Bathurst curse for the Ambrose family. Marcus never really had any good luck there with the 1000, and even when he did those few attempts in the 6 hour. Class C was the number 77 Scirocco of Niven and Halstead. They sort of owned that class for the whole race. And the baby class, the number 35 car in E class, would be the Lindenmayer and De Brit Mazda 3 car. So congratulations to all the class winners. So once again, that's another year of the Bathurst 6 hour been and gone, and it's getting better and better every year. I mean, you had reserve entries this year. Hopefully for the race's sake, that continues next year and we actually get to that 72 car capacity grid. We were so close this year. We had 72 cars on the grid on Sunday morning. It's just with a few issues before the race they had to pull out. But there's a few questions that probably need to be answered. Can the dominant cars in their respective classes be toppled? The BMWs in X class, the Mustangs in A2 now are the most dominant force, and for the longest time the Toyota 86s are the best of the best in D class. Can those cars be toppled for 2026? So that is my race review of this year's 6 hour. If you like this sort of video and you want to see more of my race reviews, give a like and a subscribe. I've done a few. I did the 12 hour and I've done a few more previews and reviews. It also just shows that you like my content and support other people on YouTube talking about Australian motorsport like this. And I mean, subscribe to watch the next video. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one.